Hello everybody, if you want to read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Short story 247, The Missing Time Traveller. Intermediate. Professor Amelia Croft glanced at her watch for the 10th time in as many minutes. Her foot tapped a staccato rhythm against the polished floor of her laboratory. Where was he? Daniel, her brilliant but somewhat erratic protégé, was never late, not for their experiments. A knot of unease tightened in her stomach. This wasn't just any experiment. For years they had dedicated their lives to perfecting temporal displacement. Time travel in layman's terms. Just last week they'd achieved a breakthrough. Daniel had designed a device, a gleaming silver wristwatch, capable of transporting the wearer a few seconds into the future. It was revolutionary and terrifying. Amelia's gaze fell on the abandoned watch on the workbench, its intricate clock face frozen at 3:30. It was the prototype, the only one. Daniel had insisted on being the first test subject. He'd strapped on the watch, set the dial for 10 seconds, and stepped into the designated area, a carefully calibrated temporal field. 1 second, 2, 3, and then he was gone. But he hadn't reappeared after 10 seconds, or 10 minutes, or 10 hours. It had been 10 agonizing hours since Daniel vanished into thin air. A wave of nausea washed over Amelia. Had she miscalculated? Was Daniel trapped somewhere in the chaotic folds of time? Panic threatened to engulf her, but she shoved it down. She had to focus. She started by reviewing their notes, her mind racing. The calculations were precise, the temporal field stable. So where was he? Then her eyes fell on a stray sheet of paper, half hidden under a pile of books. It was Daniel's handwriting, scrawled across the page with frantic urgency. Professor, if you are reading this, then something has gone wrong. The calculations are off. I'm trapped adrift in time. I don't know where, I don't know when, but I'm sending a message back, a ripple through the temporal stream. Find me. The watch. The watch holds the key. Please be careful. Amelia's blood ran cold. Daniel was lost, tossed into the vast ocean of time. But his message, his plea for help, ignited a spark of determination within her. She would find him. She had to. Picking up the abandoned watch, Amelia noticed something she hadn't before. A faint, almost imperceptible glow emanated from the dial. As she watched, mesmerized, symbols began to form on its surface. Strange, archaic symbols that seemed to writhe and shift. A code. Daniel's message had held a vital clue. The watch holds the key. This code, whatever it was, must be the key to finding him. Could it be coordinates? A date? She grabbed her notepad and began frantically sketching the symbols, hoping to decipher their meaning. Suddenly, the lab door burst open, and a disheveled, wide-eyed figure stumbled in. It was Daniel, but different. Older, wearier, his clothes torn and covered in dust. He was clutching what looked like a tattered piece of leather. He looked at Amelia, his eyes filled with a mixture of relief and terror. "Professor," he gasped, "you have to destroy the watch." He held out the leather strap. On it, scrawled in charcoal, was a single phrase. "Time is not a line, but a circle." Vocabulary notes. Protégé, noun. A young person who is taught and helped by someone who has a lot of knowledge and experience. Example. Daniel, her brilliant but somewhat erratic protégé, was never late, not for their experiments. Similar words. Student, pupil, apprentice, mente. Erratic, adjective, not regular or consistent, unpredictable. Example, her brilliant but somewhat erratic protégé. Similar words, unpredictable, inconsistent, irregular, unstable. Temporal displacement, noun, the act of moving or being moved through time. Example, for years they had dedicated their lives to perfecting temporal displacement, time travel in layman's terms. Similar words, time travel, time shift, chrono shift. Layman's terms, noun phrase, simple language that anyone can understand, not just experts. Example, temporal displacement, time travel in layman's terms. Similar words, plain English, everyday language, simple terms. Staccato, adjective, with sharp, short sounds or movements. Example, her foot tapped a staccato rhythm against the polished floor. Similar words, abrupt, disconnected, jerky. Calibrated, adjective, carefully adjusted for accuracy. Example, stepped into the designated area, a carefully calibrated temporal field. Similar words, adjusted, regulated, standardized. Vanish, verb, to disappear suddenly and completely. Example, it had been 10 agonizing hours since Daniel vanished into thin air. Similar words, disappear, evaporate, fade away. Frantic, adjective, almost out of control because of extreme emotion, such as worry or fear. Example, it was Daniel's handwriting scrawled across the page with frantic urgency. Similar words, desperate, panicked, frenzied, wild. Adrift, adjective, feeling lost and alone. Example, I'm trapped, adrift in time. Similar words, directionless, lost, aimless, rudderless, afloat. Imperceptible, adjective, too small or slight to be noticed. Example, a faint, almost imperceptible glow emanated from the dial. Similar words, unnoticeable, undetectable, faint, subtle. Archaic, adjective, very old or old-fashioned. Example, symbols began to form on its surface, strange, archaic symbols. Similar words, ancient, outdated, obsolete, antiquated. Disheveled, adjective, of a person's hair, clothes, or appearance, untidy. Example, suddenly the lab door burst open and a disheveled, wild-eyed figure stumbled in. Similar words, untidy, messy, rumpled, unkempt. Story written by Gemini 1.5 Pro AI. Image created by Flux Schnell, Black Forest Labs AI. To read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you.